Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Distance Dilemma podcast. My name is Shaun, and I'm in Dublin, Ireland. And this is Imran. He is in Thun, Switzerland, and this is our long distance friendship podcast. This is episode number 59, and we're going to kick things off this week like we do every single week, where our out of context weekly scenarios. This is the part of the show where me and Imran give each other scenarios from the last week, and the other person has to try and guess what's going on through a series of yes or no questions. So, Imran, what is your out of context weekly scenario?
My out of context weekly scenario is I booked a cultural experience.
You booked a culture, so I'm assuming like you booked like a holiday of some sorts, was it?
Correct.
The, is this like a bucket list item that you've wanted to do for a while?
Correct.
Okay, is this anything to do with sports?
No.
Is it just like a destination or that you've wanted to go to for a while?
Yeah.
Is it in Europe?
No.
Is it in Asia?
Yeah.
Did you book your trip to China?
No.
Oh, did you book a trip to Japan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You got that fairly quick. I was trying to see, like, I was like, oh, I want to try word it differently to see if I can throw him off, but yeah, he was on the ball there. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So we booked the trip to Japan. Yeah, it was like, and it was, we were kind of hemming and hawing for a couple of weeks because I'd be planning to go later in the year, but we actually ended up going a month earlier than we thought we were gonna go, like later in the year. So yeah, we're happy. It doesn't it kind of feels like one of them trips because it's such a big planning on like we're going for 2.5 weeks. It's like it's gonna be so planned out, everything, the route and everything. It's so different to any other kind of trip you've done before. Like I know I done Interrail, which was also really fun, and that was a lot of planning too. But this will just feel it's like kind of out of your comfort zone because it's like it's kind of the first. I know I've been to Turkey on the Asian side, but it's like my first proper trip outside of Europe. So I'm nervous, but also like super excited. I'm only nervous because I've never experienced that, and it'd be like the first time you're the minority.
Yeah.
When you, I didn't want to say it like that, but it kind of is true, though, isn't it?
I love how you choose
um,
that as a half Pakistani growing up in Ireland.
yeah, I live from Ireland, like not like I haven't experienced that every fucking day of my life.
And to be fair, you'll have experience like working to an itinerary from like when you come home to Ireland, because like when you come back home, you're on a schedule, like going around,
Yeah,
getting around to everyone. So I don't think it'll be as foreign, like in terms of like following a schedule like that. I think obviously culture wise, I imagine that'll be massively different, and I'm very jealous because
yeah.
Japan's one that is on me and Simone's bucket list as well that we want to go to.
Yeah, I definitely think, like I was saying to Nicola, it's like it's because it's so far west from any other trip we've been to before. It's gonna be like a trip that we won't forget. Because I was saying that to her as well. Like I'm excited to see how the transport goes, like, considering everything's in Japanese. Like usually, like when you go to countries in Europe, majority of it's in their own language, and then a small bit of it will be in English. But like I got talked to like one of the lads that went recent. He was like saying it's all in Japanese. So
Right. Okay. I would have
that
thought
will
they'd have
that
a bit of English there as well. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that'll be interesting.
fair enough.
So what's your context weakness now?
My out of context scenario is just a complete and absolute failure.
Complete and absolute failure. Okay. Does this have anything to do with like computers or audio or anything like that?
No.
Does it have anything to do with your music?
No.
Okay. Anything to do with the football?
No.
No. Cooking?
Yes.
Cooking. Okay. Were you cooking dinner for yourself and Simone?
No.
Were you cooking yourself?
Yes. Sort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For yourself?
Yeah. Sort of. Yeah. Kind of.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So you were cooking. Okay, okay. Did you try and make something for the first time?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it like a breakfast dish?
No.
Okay. So was it dinner?
No.
Wasn't dinner. Okay. Was it something for lunch? Like, was it like a kind of like
No.
panini or anything? I don't know. Okay. So do you want me to find out what the food you made?
Yeah. Just trying to get into the right realm. Of like what I was kind of getting at.
Okay, so it wasn't a breakfast dish, it wasn't a dinner dish, it wasn't a lunch dish. So it was some kind of sort of snack. Was it like a bacon? Were you
Yes.
trying to bake something?
Yes.
Okay, right. So did you try like bake a cake or something like that for the first time?
Not a cake.
Not a cake. I'm like a muffin?
No.
No. Scone?
No.
Oh, I thought you'd be a scone guy.
I know. I don't
Um,
like scones.
really?
Wouldn't be
That's
my first
surprising.
scone.
Didn't know that. Okay. Was this something like you saw on TikTok and you're like, oh, that seems like it'd be banging, and I'd like
No.
love to give
No.
that a
This,
crack.
this is off my own accord.
Okay. So what? Okay. Well, I'm trying to see what drove you to make this. Was it like some kind of like protein brownie tray or anything like that?
you're getting warmer, but it wasn't a brownie.
Okay, is it on the lines of like trying to be somewhat healthy, kind of fit in protein and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. Right. Trying to think of what else. Was it like some kind of bite? You know, like the cocoa protein bites or anything like that?
No.
Like were you trying to roll balls? Okay, so it was an absolute failure. So you obviously didn't complete it, or whatever it was. Trying to think what else kind of like pastry. So it wasn't a cake, wasn't a muffin, wasn't a brownie. Um, what kind of other desserts is there?
What's something that like I have spoken about before that I absolutely fucking love?
It's not kind of some kind of ice cream. Do you have a Ninja Creamer? No.
We do, but no, it wasn't
Oh, okay.
ice cream.
What?
You said it's already baking, so like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's something I baked.
I'm trying to think. You'll probably say it now, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I
It's
knew
very
that."
yeah. I'm surprised. Like you guess, I like scone. I don't know where you got that from, but like like it's pretty much. I just want you to guess the item, and then I'll give it to you.
But the thing is, I never think of you as a person who loves like has a sweet tooth. Like, okay, I suppose like you have a sweet tooth more like sweets and stuff, but I never really think of you eating desserts.
Yeah, I
Like even
think
when we go out for food, we always
I
get
became
Starman.
I became a fat bastard because I eat too much volume of like chips and fucking burgers and stuff, not sweets, like
Yeah, then okay. I'm trying to think what other desserts there
Yeah,
is.
there is a handful of sweet treats. Well, I do enjoy sweets, but I can say no to them.
Uh, what
Something
was it
we
like?
have.
Was it pancakes? Because we were talking recently about them.
No, well,
No.
no, that's not what it was. But the results ended up being fairly pancake-like.
Okay. And wasn't like a crap or was it cookies?
Yes.
Yes, come on. I just for some reason that just jumped out of my head. I love cookies as well, yeah.
Yeah, man. I think that's like my kryptonite when it comes to sweet foods are cookies and Milky Bars.
A soft cookie though. Oh,
Yeah, but
you
this is
can't
it.
beat a
So
soft cookie.
the full context behind that is, on Thursday I was just like sitting around the house, and we've talked before. Like I said, kryptonite for me are cookies and Milky Bars, but more specifically, the cookies out of Marks and Spencers are
Oh, they're the
insane.
best.
However, one cookie from Marks and Spencers is more in calories than what I have for my breakfast most days, and what I have for my lunch most days as well. So I do eat them, but like I have to be very restrictive. I can only like have them like once a month, and I have to like eat fuck all else for the day. If I and you get a packet of five as well, so you have to kind of do it for like a day or two. Like two of those cookies is more than like my breakfast and lunch combined. In
Yeah.
calories. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna try and make myself a low calorie type of cookie. So I literally just popped it into ChatGPT. I said I've got all these ingredients in here because like I do a lot of cooking. I don't do a lot of baking, but like I have flour there. I have protein powder. I have like bits of chocolate I can use as chocolate chips, and I have blah blah blah. So I went and I tried to make a low calorie version. I've made cookies before years ago, so like I know how to make cookies, but I was trying to use like the low fat alternative. So like instead of using butter, I was using like low butter, like that has only like 10% fat in it. And when I like the recipe called for me to use a little bit of milk, I was using super milk, which only has like 1% fat. But for the binding process, you need the fats so everything kind of sticks together and it just combines properly. Which is something I only kind of really thought of after I made my kind of cookie dough batter batch thing. So I had spent like 20 minutes making these cookies, and they were supposed to come out and be like 120 calories each and maybe like 20 grams of protein each because I was throwing protein powder into it as well. And yeah, I just could not get the dough to turn into like a cookie dough. It just like it was more of a pancake batter because there wasn't enough fat in the dough to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
bind with the flour. So it just like kept being runny, and I just said it got to the point where I just like added like 5 tablespoons of flour. I was like, look, if I add any more flour, these things are going to be like 300 calories each. So I said, fuck it, I'm just going to throw it in the oven and see what happens. And they came out like you could not describe this as a cookie in any way, shape, or form. It
Was it
was
just like a flat pancake with chocolate
it
chips?
was pretty much a flapjack with chocolate chunks in it, like and it didn't taste bad. It just didn't. It wasn't what I wanted, and like you said, I'm not the biggest fan of pancakes, except for one very specific branding that I've gotten into recently, but I generally wouldn't be the biggest pancake fan. So I ate that. Ate one, and I was like, this is shit. And I've also just wasted 200 calories in my day eating one of these things. And I literally done that, and I just threw them all in the bin. So
Yeah,
again, it was just an
I'm not
absolute failure.
surprised. Yeah,
It
yeah, I
was
know.
just, and then
It
to
kind
make
of
it
reminds me of you and Nicola making that cake that time.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was trying to see if I could phrase that into my wording, but I honestly just thought I might confuse it a little bit more.
I'll just never forget how devastated you were.
Yeah,
It,
to explain to anybody that doesn't know about that, a few years ago, me, Imran, Nicola, Simone, both of our partners, and another couple of friends of ours, we done like a come down with me thing. So we all basically went to each other's houses and served up like meals, but we also swapped the couples around. So Simone was with my friend Adam, I was with Nicola, and Imran was with Kelsey, and it was just to kind of like throw a spanner in the works and like try and make
make
it
it
a bit more
interesting.
funny and interesting. And me and Nicola made a cheesecake, and the cheesecake I it was my fault as well. I over whipped the cheesecake filling and the cream, and when we took the cheesecake dish off, the whole thing just plopped.
Flop.
Yeah,
It
and I
imploded.
was fucking devastated. Like I was, I could have cried. Honestly, like I was so embarrassed after that.
At least the roast and soup was good.
Yeah, yeah. That soup. I
Yeah.
honestly have never made a better soup than I did that day in my whole life. Every day I try and replicate the soup that I made that day.
I actually really enjoyed that like experience that
That
it
was
come
great
down with
crack.
me.
Yeah,
I used
like
to
do
always
that
do it
again.
with Nicola's family as well, but I think it's good like when you do it like maybe like it'd be because Kelsey and Adam would be like more your friends, and it was really good to get to know them from that side because especially with Kelsey, like me and Kelsey in the kitchen was so funny because like it's most like time you've ever spent together, like just me
Mm,
and her, and it was just like the whole trying to trial and error with cooking was fun.
yeah,
Especially when you're in someone else's house trying to cook and you don't know where anything is. Like I was just constantly asking
it,
Kelsey like where this is, where this is.
yeah. I just found that like really funny because like we like when we were doing it, we purposely threw people who were opposites together. Like so, like Imran and Kelsey were like probably the two people in the group that didn't really know each other that well. Because
Yeah.
obviously Adam as well, but like we were in Kelsey's house. Imran had never been in Kelsey's house before, and he was
No.
all of a sudden cooking there. And then likewise with like Simone and Adam have very different ways of like prioritizing and organizing things. So it was just like,
Yeah.
and then me and Nicola, and I think Nicola would admit to this as well. I'm somebody that loves to cook. Nicola maybe less so than myself. It's probably fair to say, like so it was just a case of like we were like constantly like opposite matching each other just to try and create chaos and trying to make it a bit more fun and entertaining. And I really enjoyed that. I'd do that again. That was really fun.
I actually have to give Nicola credit. She's like improved dramatically on her cooking, like over the
Yeah, this
past
is
like
like
year and a
in the
half.
context of like 3 years ago as well. So like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like
yeah. But like think about like when you
been to
never
your
live with
place.
anyone. Yeah, when you never live with anyone, like they develop so much. Like I think that's where she kind of like took upon herself like to proper start learning how to cook different dishes. Because like I
Yeah,
said to you before, if you live alone, you at least need to have like 5 dishes locked in your back pocket. Even if it's scrambled eggs, like it's still a meal.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it's just funny with how like your different meals change once you move in with someone. Like I remember when I was cooking for myself, I literally would have pretty much the same meals every single week. And now it's like we try to switch it up. Like we have like maybe 25 meals on the lock and that we just switch in and out each week.
Yeah, we've kind of gotten because of like the we're trying to like stay in our deficit
Yeah.
and stuff here. Like I find what we'll do is we'll have like a month of having the same 5 meals on the bounce, and then we'll just get sick of them, and then shake it up and try and do something else, and then like there'll be maybe 2 meals that survive. So like something that I was eating quite a lot over the last few weeks was like hake, asparagus, and spuds as a
Very
dinner, and that
healthy.
was great. Very healthy, yeah. Like it looks like a gym bro meal, like and it was really tasty. But like I had that for like 6 weeks on the bounce,
Yeah,
and
after a while it
then
just starts tasting like
I just
rubber.
got sick of it, so it's off the menu now for a while. And now I'm making for the last 2 weeks. I've been adding like it's basically like my take on like a low calorie Singapore chicken noodle kind of thing,
Banging.
and like a chicken curry as well with like rice and spuds as well to fill out. And like they're kind of like in there now, but I can guarantee in 4 weeks we'll be sick of them, and then fish will come back on, you know.
I love the fakeaways where you just start like trying to make your own version healthier about something. Like we
I
tried to do that a couple of weeks ago with a spice bike where we used like actual chicken and like this, but the seasoning alone has so many like calories in it. That's the
yeah.
problem, is the seasonings on the sauce. Like, 'cause you had curry sauce as well, and we're like, oh, it started off being healthy with all the raw veg, and then we added the spice and the sauce, and that just ruined it.
I have to say I made a video about this on TikTok a few weeks ago. I didn't put it on Instagram, so you probably didn't see it. But I think I've cracked how to make a really fucking good Five Guys burger at home. You know,
Oh yeah,
and I'm also like one of those. I'm like, if you want like a cheap, like for a cheap meal, especially like if you want a Five Guys, go get a Five Guys. Like, you know, don't like my like I've had family members who are like really big into like fake away culture. I'm just like, lads, like this is just a bit fucking mad. Like, you know, like, you know, it just takes to like like, you know, it like was kind of shooting for something that I was never going to achieve. Whereas
yeah.
I honestly, with my Five Guys thing, I've got it down to a T, so much so that like someone asked me, did I want to go for Five Guys the other day, and I was like, I actually don't, because I can make this at home for way less calories. I'd rather use my cheat meal and go and get something different, like, you know, just because I feel like I've managed to replicate it myself at home for like 700 calories instead of like the Five Guys burger alone without your chips, without your sauce or anything like that is like 900, I think.
I just can't stop. Like every time I hear the word Five Guys, I think I said this before, like a couple of weeks ago, but is that reporter interviewing the two guys from the boys, and it's like she's saying like, "Oh, what's your favorite meal?" And she goes, "Oh,
Yeah.
I love a Five Guys." And the girls like, and the two guys are like, "What?" And it's funny because you said like Five Guys like six times there, and like just trying not to think about it the whole time you're saying. That
Yeah.
just shows the maturity I have in this podcast.
Uh, yeah. I mean, we chatted about that a few weeks ago. So, yeah, fair.
All right,
Honestly,
shitting on my little joke there. Thanks
no,
very much.
it's just, I just don't have anything to add. I'm sorry.
You don't hear me slagging him about his. I guarantee his burger does not taste like a Five Guys. I guarantee it just tastes like a burger and chips
No,
in
no,
his
I
mind.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'd say I wouldn't say it if it doesn't. Like, say, I'm a very. I think
Okay.
you know, right. I think you're Imran, and I think our listeners know by now. I'm a fairly no bullshit, no nonsense sort of guy.
Mm,
I've got this down to a T. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't fucking true. You know.
I'm calling Cap. You're making me this burger when I come
Like,
back.
honestly, I will next when you come over. I'll make it for you, and I know you will be able to tell it's not a Five Guys burger, but it's as good as a Five Guys burger.
Okay, okay. See, the wording's changed now. Look.
All right, all right.
Yeah, yeah,
Just because I
yeah,
didn't laugh
yeah.
at his joke, just because I didn't think.
You know what? This is perfect for the topic this week.
Anyway,
Because
yeah.
of yeah, let me bring it in. I'm bringing it in.
Okay, all right,
Oh
okay.
yeah, because of how he's shitted on my joke there. And recently, what me and Shaun both watched on our letterbox was the Louis Theroux Manosphere documentary that came out. So yeah, he's a Manosphere man. I'm only messing, but yeah. So what I wanted to bring up this week was to kind of reflect back on the documentary. If you haven't seen it, it kind of looks at this like masculinity influencers, kind of like that make money through social media, kind of like streamers and people in positions and like finances that kind of push this masculinity pro man kind of view. So I thought it'd be interesting if we looked at like traditional sex roles, but then kind of base it a bit through the documentary that came out as well. I thought it'd be an interesting topic. So first of all, what did you think of the documentary first?
Yeah, to be honest with you, before I watched it, I didn't think it was going to show the extremist kind of Charlie Kirk esque kind of people. I thought it was going to delve into more like casual masculinity stuff that like is harder to like these guys. Like when I was watching this documentary, they like sunk themselves because they're just fucking idiots. You know,
Yeah.
I before I had not I'd seen anything. I just heard people talking about it and people saying it was really good. And me and Simone said, "Oh, fuck it, we'll give it a watch." But from like what I had seen online, I thought it was going to be a bit more about like casual stuff, like people who are being misogynistic without really realizing it. Whereas like
Mm,
what it actually focuses on is misogynists in America, like you said, like finance bros, streamers, YouTubers, who like their whole thing is like selling you courses on how to be a man and how to fucking bulk up your muscles and how to, you know, treat your woman like she's a fucking pet, you know. I just like I it's. I enjoyed it. Like I said, like I think going into it, I thought it was going to be something a little bit different. Simone said instead of like that, what manosphere is that, and then Simone said the type of person I was thinking of is an incel. So
Yeah,
that is more kind of like me getting mixed up in my phrasing and wording and stuff. But in general, I thought it was very interesting. I think it's very eye opening. The guy. I think it's so funny that like Louis Theroux didn't actually have to really say anything. These guys just sunk their own ship throughout the
yeah.
course of it. Like they're just fucking idiots and muppets. And I just want to say, if anybody out there follows them, engages with them, idolizes them, or thinks they have like a good point to make it anyway, you're a fucking dope.
And that's the thing I think the problem is like their audience are like young men. So like I would say not even I would say young teens, like between the ages of like 10 to 15, that kind of era. And the problem is they're influenced by so much of what they see on social media, as of we. But they're pushing this narrative that like the things that they're portraying like onto not just like women, but like as men, like that we should be like hard as nails, that you should be in the gym. And I think if they focus alone on like that's what, and I think Louis like pushed that question to one of the guys. I think his name is HS Tiki Toki or whatever his name. That's what he goes by.
Mm.
But like he was like saying like you push this like going to the gym and this healthy living lifestyle, and if like why don't you focus much more on that rather than pushing this, my girl's a Lamborghini and all this kind of like mindset that you have like against like girls or anything. And it's funny because in I won't go too much about the documentary, but like there is a part where his mom comes on the show and like how he speaks to his mom is like a completely different character to watch,
Yeah.
like the way he was pushing to online. And Louis calls that out later in the documentary. But it was just funny to see like people are doing stuff for clout. But the one thing I would say was the fellow was really honest in terms of like he did not give a shit about what he was doing. Like he was doing it purposely for clout and money. And I just thought that was a really sad way of living your life. That's one thing I got out watching it. I was watching these streamers, watching these TikTok. I know they do it for attention and I know they do it for claim, but like I was really like, this is such a sad narrative you're drawing yourself. And like I don't think that fella realizes until after the documentary came out about how much of an idiot he looked from like the wider perspective on people on Netflix.
Mm. Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't want to look too much on the documentary. That was kind of like bringing it in, but kind of some questions I had like in relation to that was like reflecting on the manosphere. How do you think like the traditional and modern views of like sex roles have changed? So like I'm talking now, like for example, would be like there's more women in the workplace than ever. In the households now, it's not necessarily the man provides; it's kind of sharing of things and paying for meals now. It's not necessarily men will pay for the meals all the time. So I know we need to be careful on this topic because it is a bit of controversial. So we want to say like what's kind of like your experience, and then like where do you think things have changed from like the recent 50 years?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's definitely been a change in things for sure. Like, it's and like for the better as well. Like, I don't think it's like everything. I think it works in both ways as well because I don't think it's meant to be like male first in every way. It's like men don't have to pay. It's still the one thing I kind of still do hold up is about, like paying on a first date and stuff. That's something that I wanted to do when me and Simone first started going. It was like when I was dating before Simone. The way I would kind of see it in my head is like, oh, it's just like a gentlemanly thing to do. Now I know if some people do see it as like a bit insulting as well. That's not the place where I was doing it from, and like Simone was very insistent when we first like went on our first date. Like she, I paid for it, and then she revoluted me the other half, and she was very adamant on that. And you know that's 100% fine. Like but I always just thought it was like a nice gesture to put it there. That's the only thing that I kind of still hold on to. That like I would still kind of I don't know if insist is the right word, but that's the thing. It's something. It's a value I still would kind of hold. But like everything else, like when it comes to like money and like the house and like are doing like doing fair split things, like everything's just everything. Like I say it's 50-50, but like it's not. Like some things are 60-40. Like like I like for example, when it comes to cooking in our house, like Simone probably cooks maybe twice a week in this house, like, and that's like any of the meals. Whereas like I cook dinner every single day. Both of us are in work, and then Simone like might make breakfast, and then she might do a dinner one of the nights, or she might make us lunch. But like that's not also because I'm a guy or because she's a girl. Like I think most people now, for the better part, it's nothing to do with gender. It's got to do with convenience and lifestyle. Like what works best for your situation. Like whereas like I still see it. Like I even hear it in like gym locker rooms. Like even I was in the gym this morning and I overheard two lads talking, and he was talking like I think he was like in his 60s, and he was talking about his kids coming over with the grandkids, and he was like, oh, they'll get a dinner off her, and it was the phrasing of that being like, like it's her role in that house, expected to cook the dinner for that generation, whereas like for us it would just be more like, not that like I have to cook, like but it's just I enjoy it more, like so I just genuinely do it. But if someone wants to cook, she is more than free to, you know.
I think power divisions and like the domestic view of it is probably a bit different nowadays. Like years ago, it probably would have been told to us when we were kids, like, your granddad or things. They seen like the wife does the cooking, or, the mom would provide and the care and giving. But like you were saying there, like now I feel like it's very different compared to, like for example, like with me, like a lot of the time I go to work in the evenings time and Nicola's only coming back for work. So like why, like majority of the time, like I would probably do most of the cooking, and then if I'm off, or Nicola will say she'll do the cooking, and it kind of just we kind of work around it with whoever is off in that situation. But like most of the time now, we just it's more convenience, like you were saying there. And then I think with more like power divisions and stuff like that, like it's obviously like without going into it too much, is like provisions of work, like income. Like we do everything together in terms of like sharing and like savings and everything. So I feel like it works very different. Like we try to do most things half and half, but what I always feel like if you're like working towards something or saving with something like in terms of money and income, it's like you're doing it together, so it doesn't really matter on the effect of who is putting in more now. If you're trying to, create a future for yourself, so like I don't wouldn't be too big on like provisions of like I'm paying for everything like that. I know different cultures may be subsiding and it's still, prevalent that men would pay for the meal and men for like that. I do kind of agree with you as well. I do think it's like important on the aspect of like more on the gentleman side of like paying for the first meal. Like I was the same when I went out for my first meal with Nicola. I wanted to pay as well, but I think that's just maybe how we were brought up by like our parents and stuff like that. And I think most people are brought up that way. Most lads would probably go around as that
I,
feel.
I don't even think that's like super exclusive to like our romantic relationships as well. Like I have
No.
like friends that like when we go out, like I'm happy to pay for our lunch, I'm happy to pay for our coffee, or like when I go out with my family, and like, and it doesn't really matter whether they're men or women. Like like I have female friends that I'm very close with, that I go out with, and I've bought them lunch, I've bought them coffees, and likewise they've bought me lunch, they've bought me coffees. And same with my grandparents. Like I went out with my nana 2 weeks ago. I wanted to buy us lunch. I was like, no, I invited us out. I asked you to go to lunch, so I'm gonna buy lunch. Like it's
Yeah.
like I would say more the person who invited, like even not even like I would say, like when it comes to like dating and stuff, I think maybe the person who asked for the date, that's who it maybe should slightly lean towards. But even if that doesn't really, it doesn't matter really at the end of the day, like
Yeah,
um
I'd be kind of in the same kind of viewpoint as you. Another point I wanted to bring up, kind of relating back to the documentary a bit, like, what do you think of like, obviously the kind of masculinity thing they're pushing on, like their streamers, and there was a couple of guys that were involved in the documentary. But what do you think that would play a effect on like how the young males would identify like women? That they're, for example, like what I took from it was like they view women as like an object rather than like an actual sex. And like that
yeah.
was something that I was like prevalently found throughout the thing, is like they view their mother in some aspect completely different, but then they would view their wife or whatever girl they pick up off the street. This is how they're speaking. And what was your kind of thing that you took away from it?
Yeah, one thing I could not get over is like every female to the lads in that documentary was a number.
Yeah,
Like they weren't even a name to them, and like I wouldn't, like they do treat them like objects, but like I think their first impression of them was a number. Like they were just rating them based on their looks out of 10. You
yeah,
know,
Max looking thing is what it's called.
yeah, I just think it's fucking disgusting. Like that was the one thing that I was like, what's wrong with people? Like I just think it's pathetic that like the first thing you think of when you're either meeting somebody or when you're engaging with somebody in some sort of way is that like you're giving them a number and being like, oh yeah, like, and look, come here, don't get me wrong, like everyone's attracted to people, and like you can find people attractive, you can not find people attractive, but to be like out like so confidently, like people out like, oh, you're a 9, you're a 10, you're a 6, you're a 7,
Yeah.
like what the, like like I like that for me, like it's a really I don't, it's not even a very small detail, but it's a detail that for me sums up their mindset, and it's like that it just shows to me that they don't care about this person's feelings, and that's like it kind of leans them down towards like what you're saying about them treating women like objects or treating them like, you know, things they have to manage. Like, because I even overhear that quite a lot in the gym as well, like where they like men talk about their wives like they're things that they have to manage. Like, you know, it's like your wife's your own person, you're your own person. Like, you do what you want, they can do what they want. Like, you know, that's just how it needs to be. Like, you know.
I think the issues that I found from it was like they're doing this at like an older perspective, like I'd say mid 20s, like the guys, or I think one of the guys was in his later early 30s. But it's like if you're a young viewer and you're growing up and you have this like idea, this is how famous co and co, people live their lives going to the gym, rain women. I just think you're pushing this really wrong ideology of what it is to be a man. I think now, like I mean, we've spoken about it before, like the I think more on the perspective of like looking at male health and male physical health. It's like it's changed so much within the last 50 years. Years ago you would never really catch men, and this is what I did my thesis on, is like men accessing like healthcare systems for like counseling or like even medical help has changed dramatically. But I felt like these guys were pushing this narrative of like you need to be hard as nails, it's like show no emotion, rain like this, like you're disencouraging women, you're pushing this rich lifestyle that if you don't make it, you're a failure. Which, like, we've talked about this before, it's not true. People are living their lives at completely different time zones, and even like the guys were saying like everything they do was for like clout. That's the one thing I felt really sad. Because the whole thing just seemed fake. Like you didn't, they all seemed disingenuine. Like none of it I was looking like seemed authentic. Everything was like staged or for clout, or like you're pushing a narrative that you're not. And I think Louis actually saw that a lot through, like when the guys were speaking, he was kind of calling them out on that. But that's the thing you were saying, like he barely even had to speak throughout the whole documentary because it was literally just the lads doing their own downfall.
Just, yeah, sinking their own ship.
But like, what do you
Um,
think of like the male understanding that you got from like? Do you think that like there's male identity in crisis for like the younger generation?
no, absolutely not. Like, I just think I think the only crisis, I think the crisis is men like the people in this documentary, and like men who see women as not equals. Like, and you just who think that, like, no, I just like I like when it comes to like the lads in that documentary, just like they are the blueprint for everything you should not be in a man, you know. Like, and there was a video recently that I saw on TikTok where there was a guy like that who was given a taxi driver who was of like Pakistani origin. He was
Oh,
giving
I
him
seen
a
this.
lot of
Yeah.
shit, and like I was looking at the comments, and one of the comments made such a great point. It's like, I know which one of these two I'd rather have as my neighbor. You know,
Mm.
and fuck it, it was obviously it wasn't the fucking yuck bro in the back giving fucking loads. Like, but one of the things as well that like really stuck out to me from it was like I think that HS or HP or HR Tiki Taki, whatever that fella is. He was like, oh, if I had a son and he was gay, he would disown him, you know.
Mm.
And it's like 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 that type of that mindset of like, right, okay, if you don't want your son to be gay, okay, bit weird that you care who your son gets into bed with, but anyway, whatever, that's your prerogative. You don't want that, okay, whatever. And then in the same breath, they will also treat women the way they do, and objectify them and like discourage their opinions and stuff. So the only opinions that they take on board that they think matters are other men. And I think it says a
Hmm.
lot more about them that they're trying to they're trying to it's these men are only trying to impress other men. And 9 times out of 10, like, I use the case of that HS Tiki Taki fellow, but like, in so many of these instances, these lads are homophobic. They're dismissing women like this, and the only people they're trying to affect is men. So I think what the real issue with those guys is they are so insecure about their own masculinity, and they're insecure possibly about their sexuality. So they're only trying to show off to other guys. That's kind of like my take on a takeaway from it.
That's what I find, just to add on to that. I just thought it was really funny as well because when Louis did pose the question to him after, it's like, why do you think like this? He was like getting really offended, saying that one of his best friends is gay, and that he has no problem with homosexuality. But then when he was called out on the Sun part, he like doubled down on what he said. So I didn't really understand too much what he was saying. I mean, I don't think you're far off the idea of maybe they don't understand their sexuality, but I think that's the problem, is like that's where you know. sexual health, they probably have no background or no knowledge in that. And my thing, I know you said you don't think it's an issue necessarily for like you think people will probably justify between both roles, but I'm afraid that the younger generation will take influence of this because I always see this side of like TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. It's like this pushing this. I think it's called Max looking. I know you sound like unks right now, but it's like rating of like how your physical face is looking, or like this idea that you're pushing like the Andrew Tate, or they're pushing like the derogatory of women, or like pushing this bystander that you're not successful unless you hit a million before this certain age. I think like this side of it for the younger generation that maybe don't have the education of like what it is to be a man or co and co, whatever that means. I think that's where the issue of what I find. Obviously, I'd say if more people, are generally normal, like we've said before, like normal lads will just kind of but like bystand this, walk away from it. But the problem is, I'm thinking is there's a lot of influence for the younger generation just to be, to feel like this is what it is to be a man, this is what it is to be an identity, and that's where I feel like the issues kind of rise from.
Yeah, I don't really feel like I don't think it's a question that anyone needs to be asking. It's like, what does it mean to be a man? Like the
No,
question,
no.
because like you don't have women going, what does it mean to be a woman? You know, like I think what the most important thing is, what does it mean to be yourself? Like, what
Mm,
makes you happy, what drives you, what do you want in life? And like, if you're a boy and you want a boyfriend, you're a girl, or you're a girl and you want a girlfriend, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, do what makes you happy. Do, and like as well, like, and for other people as well, like, if it doesn't affect you, what does it fucking matter? It's one thing I'll never get over with like people who like whose parents are like disowning them because they're gay. It's like, well, like your son or daughter's sex life has fucking nothing to do with you. Like, like nobody has in-depth discussions about their sex life like with their parents. Like, everybody obviously knows it gets done. But who they're doing it with doesn't fucking matter. Like, so why just not let things be happy? Like.
Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting topic to bring up this week because it was kind of very much like kind of popping off on social media with the Louis Theroux. So if you haven't seen the documentary, definitely give it a watch. It definitely think it's worth. I think it's only like an hour and a half as well.
Yeah,
I
it's a quick
watched it
one
in
to
like
watch.
one sitting, so it's quick enough and it's nice to move on to.
Yeah, Grant. Well, sure, look, we'll nip that one in the bud, and we'll move on to current affairs. And unfortunately, there's only kind of one place we can start with current affairs this week, lads. It's a depressing one, unfortunately. But as you are probably well aware, Ireland lost their playoff against the Czech Republic, or Czechia, last Thursday, which was just totally fucking heartbreaking. I was nearly in tears at home. Like, it's just like, it's the hope that kills you, man. It's the hope that kills you.
That's Irish football though. I feel like it's never left me since I was like born. It's like you follow and you get involved in all the games and you get so close. And I feel like Ireland always seem to get into a position where they're either in the playoffs or like, around second or third in the group. And we just always fall short. And I felt so bad as well because I felt like the lads really played well in the first half. Like they really were pushing it, getting the two goals early on into the game. And I really thought we were going to hold on, but again, that's football. Like the Czech, in fairness to the Czech, when they come out in the second half, they put pressure on, and then yeah, it was just so disappointing. And like not from the football's perspective of it, but like even people I was seeing the next day and stuff, like everyone was saying, "Oh, we're devastated." It's such a killing as well for the summer because I think a lot of people were looking forward to the buzz of like for me, I would say like one thing the Irish are great at is like back on their own, and even Nicholas says it as well. Like we're always supporting of like when the rugby's on, when the football's on. There's always a big support around and a big push from the country. So I thought it would have been a good time for the country to need it. But look, that's the roll of the dice. That's how things go.
Yeah, I think I'd said it before on the podcast that like I think the country has like really needed something to unite everybody together because there's just been so much tension around Ireland
Mm,
politically for the last kind of couple of years, and I really do feel like that was the thing that if we had qualified, it would have just like it would have mended a lot of bridges and it would have just brought a lot of positivity to the country.
mm.
Just to kind of touch on the football side really quickly, we obviously went 2-0 up in the first half, and I have to say, I don't have very nice feelings towards Ryan Manning at the moment because that penalty he gave away was ridiculous.
This
Just
is
from
very stupid.
a defender's perspective, like, what are you doing? Even touch the fella, the ball's going out of play. There was no need for it. And similarly, the foul to give away, the set play for their second goal was a bit unnecessary from Alan Brown. I just feel like the Irish team are we're missing someone who is a difference maker. Like a, we only have one world class player, which is Kelleher in goal. You've got a solid back line there with Nathan Collins, Jake O'Brien, Darragh O'Shea. I'm happy with that as like a back line, and you can't rely on Seamus Coleman forever, but he's a great leader to have there. Even like as much as I like Troy Parrott, there's a reason that Troy Parrott didn't make it in the Premier League and he had to go, and he's now playing in mid-table in Eredivisie. And look, Troy scored some incredible goals for us over the last few months, and not to take that away from him, but I feel like there was too much weight being put on his shoulders in
Definitely.
that sense. Like, and I'm sure he seems like the type of guy that will thrive off that as well. But just like being realistic, we haven't got that creative midfielder in the middle of the park that can string together the ball and just pass the ball around 100 times and just calm the game down. Like if it just felt like we were either sat in their 18-yard box or sat in our 18-yard box. There was no in between, you know.
Yeah.
Just to kind of briefly touch on the football and the things, like, but yeah, it was a depressing one. It was a hard one to take. It really was.
And that's what I was thinking. Is like that's the thing is the hope that kills you. Is like everyone. I said this. I thought that we were doing way too much with the social media side, building the game up. I felt like that didn't help with the lads at all. I did feel like we started really well, and then once a little bit of pressure came on us, I just felt like we crumbled, and it was just mistake after mistake after mistake. But again, I won't talk too much on it because there's nothing we can do now. But yeah,
Anyway, that's enough of us moaning on the podcast. On to some more maybe light-hearted affairs, I suppose. Over the last week or two over in Ireland, Imran didn't know about this, but they've started in a Saturday Night Live SNL, a UK/UK and Ireland version on Sky One. Sky One is also back as well.
yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, they're doing that over here. I watched the first episode where Tina Fey was the host. Well, I say I watched the first episode. I watched the first half an hour and then I fell asleep because I am 26 and I cannot stay awake past half 10. And yeah, it was really solid. Like it seems like I think it's a show that when I like the host and I like the musical guest, I think I'll tune in. For at least half an hour, like I said, because I can't stay awake past like half 10 nowadays because I'm at the ripe old age of 26. But it was really solid. It was fairly similar to like the American format. I've only ever really seen clips of it. I've never watched the full episodes of an American one.
Yeah, me
You
neither.
know, it's a sketch comedy show. Everything's done live off the cuff. And it's all very current affairs. Currently, what's going on? Like there was a lot of digs at Trump, and Keir Starmer, and like just like a lot of what's going on in the world at the moment. And I have to say, like, I was pleasantly surprised because especially I didn't know any of the cast. I was kind of expecting them to bring in some more well-known comedians just to kick it off. Like I was expecting, like, some faces like Joe Wilkinson, or not necessarily like maybe Josh Whitcomb.
Jack Whitehall, maybe.
Well, no, I would even say lower than that. Like just like names or faces that but maybe not names that
Recognize,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But no, they've gone with like a totally fresh cast of people that at least I have never heard of. But it was fairly solid. I have to admit, like I did find myself laughing hard at quite a lot of the jokes and the sketches, like so definitely one I would consider if you like the host that's on that week or you like the musical guest. I think it's definitely worth checking out on the Saturday night on Sky O'clock. It's 10 o'clock every evening on Sky, every Saturday night on Sky One.
yeah. I'll probably have to give it a watch over the week. Actually, I might look at a few clips after we finish the
The
podcast and have a
first
look
the
at it.
first episode was pretty decent. Like I said last week, this week's one was Jamie Doran, and I can't remember who the musical guest was. Like I said, I think if you like the host, it's probably a week. It's not something I'd be like you have to watch it every week, like because there's no narrative to it or anything. You know.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then just kind of finally on current affairs, as we're recording this, it is Easter week, so tomorrow will be Good Friday, where the pubs are now open, where they used to close. Yeah, one thing about Easter, I don't know how other people feel about this, but I feel as an adult, like I've felt this since I was like 16, getting an Easter egg is kind of embarrassing. Do you,
Is this what you
does
wanted to
anybody
say to me
else?
before the podcast there? Because you were saying he had some subjective views on like Easter eggs, but he didn't want to tell me.
Yeah, I don't know, there's just something about being an adult and getting handed an Easter egg. I just feel it's a bit childish.
You have dark views on the world of getting a piece of chocolate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't.
I mean, I feel like Easter eggs are again they're just another consumership that's been pushed right in their faces. But I do see like some kids though, and they're getting like 19 Easter eggs, and you're thinking, there's no way you're eating all that chocolate. But I have to say, an Easter egg with a cup of tea is nice.
Mm,
That's an Irish boy standard I live by. I do think that's a really good one, to be honest.
yeah, there's something about it's the way like the air gets in your mouth with the shape of the Easter egg. I don't know. There's like a different. It's a different culinary experience if I do say so myself. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things that like because my nana, God bless her, my nana's like salted the earth angel. You've met Joan many a times, but she every year gets me an Easter egg. And I'm like, I just cringe a little bit. I don't know, like, and that probably makes me an asshole.
You
And
don't
I'm
want
not
to
gonna
crush
take it
her
too
heart,
far.
though. You don't want to
Yeah,
crush her
I'm
heart.
not gonna hand it back to her else. It's free chocolate, like But I don't know. There's just something about receiving, like, I'm like, I'm like, why? Like, just get the other grandkids, like the ones that are actually still kids, get them nicer ones, Yeah, I just always I felt like that since I was like 16. Like I'm not expecting any Easter egg from one person, and then I'll end up with like three or four, you know. And
Yeah, I
again,
don't think it's some.
that's very much me being an asshole, and I'm fine with that.
You know, I actually haven't seen too many Easter eggs over here. I think only when I went to like the bigger stores, I might have seen like a very, very small Kit Kat section where there was like maybe just Kit Kats they were selling. I haven't seen any Cadbury's or anything like that, but
Mm.
I don't think it's as big outside of Ireland and England again. Maybe that's the consumership is again is maybe is not as big across Europe, but no, I haven't seen any.
The
No.
Catholicism of Ireland.
The Catholicism of Ireland will never go of the Easter eggs. There's got to be some like long backstory to these Easter eggs
Yeah,
because like I don't know how it even started. I don't
like I
even
said, it's
know.
consumer capitalism bollocks.
Yeah, at its finest.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, we're all me and the family are meeting up. It's like a low key version of Christmas in a way. Like I remember even when I
Yeah,
was a kid, like Easter, you used to get like fresh clothes, and like my nana would give me like a few quids for Easter. It was like Diet Christmas or something. Like it's probably the best way to describe it.
it's another forced family day during the year where you're forced to meet up. I always feel like, like the big ones would be like Easter, Christmas, and then like the odd one maybe might be like Mother's Day where you'll go to your mom and then you'll go to your like your granny or your auntie on the Sunday for a dinner. So I feel like they're like the designated, days throughout the year for forced family meetups, which normally end in Ireland with disputes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Right. Anyway, I'm conscious of time, so we're going to move into your dilemmas, folks. And guys, this is the section of the show where me and Imran take submissions from you guys absolutely anonymously, and we read them out. This can be advice. This can be comments on the show. This can be stuff that you want us to talk about. All of this is done completely anonymously. And if you would like to submit your own dilemmas to us, you can do so by going to the link in our Instagram bio, and you can just fill in the dilemmas forms. Like I said, it's totally anonymous. We cannot see who sends these in. So if there's something you want to get off your chest, it doesn't have to be long distance friendship related. It can be bitching about your boss. If you want to say something to your partner, but you're afraid it'll upset them, and you want our opinion on it, pop it into that as well. Like I said, or if you want to, get us to talk about a certain topic grant like that, you can also DM us on Instagram as well. But if you want to do it anonymously, obviously go to the forum. Like I said, it's in our Instagram bio under the forums there, and we'll usually post it on our story as well once or twice a week. Anyway, this week, as we also are running low on these as well, so we'd really appreciate it. No pressure, guys, no pressure. Anyway, our dilemma this week says, I noticed someone making a mistake that could cause serious problems at work, but pointing it out might get them in trouble. What should I do? Imran, I'm going to let you chime in
Go
there.
first. Yeah, I seen this when you posted it in the chat, and I was thinking like I need to trying to think from my mindset. Like right now, I work in a kitchen, so like I work with a lot of like flames and oils and stuff like that. I'm trying to think if it was really gonna cause a big issue. I think I would definitely tell someone, but I think I'd probably have a chat with the person. Like I'd pull them aside and be like, "Look, I noticed that you know, this could be like a lot of harm to other people or myself. Maybe, look at it from this point of view. I know it's kind of hard because like we had a situation like this a couple of weeks ago where someone was kind of like mansplaining things to someone. So it's kind of like really how you come across. But for me, it's like in this situation, like where I work, like the big thing would be safety. Like I don't want someone else getting hurt. or like me getting hurt just because someone's making a mistake. So I'd always try to like, like, oh look, I'm not saying you're doing it wrong, but like I'm just saying like if you do it this way, you would avoid any complications or like anything that could involve in the safety. Because I don't want to like necessarily go higher than them, but I think if I had like spoken to the person and said, look, I wouldn't do it this way. I do it, the correct way or whatever, quote unquote. Instead of going like higher up straight to the manager, you don't also want to be presumed as like a rat in the workplace as well. So like, and again, we don't know how serious the situation is. It does say here it could cause serious problems. So I'm guessing that is maybe point for trouble. But I think I would rather go to the person first and just explain it first before I go any higher.
Mm. To be honest with you, I've been this person in the workplace where I have made one or two of these types of mistakes where, like, people have had to pull me aside and be like, look, you're doing this wrong. You need to fix this, which, look, come here, when you're starting any job, that's kind of, how
Normal.
you learn with these things. But, like, I've had this happen to me twice, and there's two ways you can go about it. And I think it's really important, the way you communicate this and the angle you approach. So if you're somebody who's above them, if you manage this person, it's kind of a bit fair enough to like pull them aside and be like, hey, just so you know, you're doing this wrong. Here's how you do it correctly, and then give them a supportive way of doing it. Where it gets a bit complicated and gets a bit muddy is when you're kind of on the same level as somebody, where like you're not their boss, you're their equal. And I think in that case, like, you have to be a little bit more delicate, and it's a lot easier to insult someone when you're their equal, So I think I definitely think you should still be saying it to them. I don't think you should just like let it breeze over. Definitely still important to say it to the person, because I know I appreciate it myself when someone calls you out or they give you feedback or they address these things instead of it snowballing into something that ends up being a lot worse. But yeah, I would just like be a bit more delicate and just be like, hey, look, there's a reason we do it like this. Just try and not mansplain it, or not like approach it from a level of like trying to talk down some. If you are on the same level, just be like, hey, I made a similar mistake myself before, or like, oh look, we do it this way just to, so it's easier for everyone, so everyone can work in harmony. And then like I was saying there, if you're the boss, you can be a little bit more, you can put the foot down a little bit more and be like, hey, that's wrong, this is how we do it here. Okay, thanks, bye. But in a more supportive way than I just said it there, But yeah, it just depends on your level. But I definitely do think you should say it to someone. And I think if it gets to the stage where like they're making this mistake over and over again, like you've said it to them maybe twice, three times, that's where you kind of have to go above them and maybe bring it to
Yeah.
your management and be like, look, this has become the problem. But and report becomes a problem for you or other co-workers as well.
That's where I think like power structures and communication is like major key in that, because like you don't want to come across as like an asshole as well. Like you just want to,
Mm.
like you were saying there, maybe relate it back to yourself, maybe it might make them feel a bit easier, like I've made mistakes and stuff like that, and this is how I learned from it. But then again, it all depends on your job situation and like where you're working. Like, cause like you're saying there, once you start a job, like it's very easy to make mistakes, and like they're learning. Like I always said, like we have a guy at the moment who's just recently joined and he's trying to learn. He's never worked in like gastro at all, so like you got to think from their perspective is like they are not used to the environment and everything, so it's
Mm.
so easy to make mistakes. And that's why I keep like saying to him, like, don't feel too stressed or overwhelmed. Like just take it at your time and your pace, and you'll learn in due time. But like then again, like like we said before, time, if it affects everyone else, that's where it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
I find anyway.
And to say also, it's like something else to consider is even if it's like this doesn't necessarily just have to apply to new hires. This can apply to somebody who's been in a job for like a year or two and they're making either a silly mistake or something just happens or something slips their mind. But like just like from my own personal experience as well, sometimes people can be coming down really hard in work when you're having a bit of a tough time in your personal life. So it's something I would also maybe just consider, it was like a thing when my mom was gone, when my mom was dying. I made one or two mistakes, and it's not always something. I think especially like with the person who has made the mistakes, they don't want to like excuse it and be like, oh, I'm going through something, so they might like. I know that was the case for me. I didn't be like, my mom's sick or my mom's dying, leave me alone. I actually didn't mention that at all, but it was playing into it. So just also taking external factors into account. Like, you never know, they could have just had a fight with their partner the night before. They could be going through some, their parents could be dying or could be sick or whatever like that. Like I was in that situation, or there could just be, their dog could be sick, or they could have had a long night because they went and done a favor for their friends. Something like that. You never know what the full context behind something is. So I think it's always best to put your best foot forward and like assume the best in people. And then like when it becomes a problem over the course of a couple of weeks, a couple of months, they're repeating the same mistakes, even though you've tried to help them. That's where maybe things need to be either taken more seriously, or you need to go above their head and start like telling management about them.
No notes. I agree completely.
Cool. Right, well, guys, that is where we're going to wrap it up today. So, thank you very much for listening to episode number 59 of the Distance Dilemma podcast. My name is Shaun, and I'm in Dublin, Ireland. This has been Imran. He is in Thun, Switzerland. And we are back next Monday at 6 a.m. Irish time, 7 a.m. Central European time. Until then, guys, thank you very much for listening, and we'll chat to you again next week.
Peace.